On our anniversary he brought home smoke, whiskey, and the scent of another woman. While he toasted her birthday I called my lawyer. Months later he drooled on her shoulder in a wheelchair, whispering wife. As for me, I raised a glass to my empire and said he forgot the date. But I'll never forget how I left, and won. 5 years. 5 anniversaries. And not once had I asked for fireworks. Until tonight when I didn't ask at all. I was curled up on the velvet chaise by the window, a steaming cup of chamomile tea in my hand, when the first firework exploded. It was loud enough to make the walls tremble. Red streaks ripped across the night sky, followed by gold, then violet. I thought maybe, they were for me. Until the 5th burst came, spelling it out clearly in dazzling silver letters. Happy birthday, Lily. The tea in my mouth turned bitter. I didn't even need to check the date. July 16th. Our wedding anniversary. I blinked. Once. Twice. Not because I couldn't believe it. But because I could. Because deep down I'd seen this coming. The phone buzzed next to me. I picked it up like a robot. Notifications from Instagram. Fuck. Even some WeChat screenshots Mia had forwarded. People were posting videos of the fireworks. Gushing over the romantic display. Lily's fireworks show lit up the whole damn city. He really did that for her? Those must have cost a fortune. Shin Group doesn't hold back when they love someone. Shin Group. Thinshin. My husband. The fireworks were being launched from the Shin estate hilltop. Our property. I went numb. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the deliberate nature of it. The precision. The planning. He hadn't simply forgotten our anniversary. He had replaced it. Rewritten it in sparks and smoke for her. I scrolled through the comments and stopped on a post from a mutual acquaintance. Lily stood in front of a massive display holding a sparkler. Her dress was white and flowy, probably something innocent looking on purpose. And in the reflection of the glass behind her, a man. Black shirt. Familiar jawline. Holding the remote for the fireworks. Thin. I zoomed in until the image blurred. There was no denying it. My stomach turned. He was standing with her. Smiling with her. Celebrating with her. On the day he vowed himself to me 5 years ago. No wonder he left the house saying he had a business dinner. No wonder he asked me not to wait up. I knew what I should do. Say nothing. Let the world gossip while I maintain dignity. Be the good wife. Be quiet. Be still. But something inside me snapped like a taut string. I opened the post. Found the comment box. And typed. Strange how the fireworks were scheduled for the 5th year of someone else's marriage. Love really makes people forget. I hit send. And leaned back waiting. The phone didn't take long to ring. Caller ID Ethan. I let it ring twice before answering. Not because I wanted to play games. But because I needed those extra seconds not to scream. Claire, he snapped. What the hell are you doing? My voice was calm. Detached. Did you see the comment? Of course I saw it. Everyone did. Can you stop being so childish? Childish. I repeated slowly. Because I made one comment? It was one wrong firework, he said, voice rising. You don't have to humiliate me publicly. One wrong firework. Finn, it wasn't a typo on a cake. It was an entire professionally choreographed display. Her name was written across the sky. On our anniversary. There was silence. Then a sigh. Look, if you're obsessed with appearances, fine. I'll hire another team tomorrow. We'll do fireworks again. For you this time. A big one. Just delete the comment and what? I said sharply. And come apologize to Lily. She's really upset. For a second I thought I misheard him. But then I heard her. In the background. Soft. Comforting. Ethan, don't get mad. Just talk to Claire properly. I'm sure she didn't mean it. My grip tightened on the phone. I walked to the window and looked out at the remnants of the fireworks, smoke still lingering in the sky. I'm not on the hill anymore, I said quietly. What? I'm not up there anymore. So take your time comforting her. I paused, then added with a cool smile. After all, that's what you're best at, isn't it? I hung up before he could answer. I stared at my reflection in the window. The city lights flickered against the glass. My face looked the same as always, high cheekbones, red lips, calm eyes. But I didn't recognize myself. Because the woman staring back? She was tired. Not the kind of tired sleep could fix. No, this was deeper. This was the fatigue that came from loving someone who made you beg to be remembered. I slid down into the window seat, wrapping the silk throw tighter around my shoulders. The world was still spinning. And somewhere out there Ethan was holding Lily. My mind drifted back to our first year of marriage. He used to bring home orchids because I once mentioned liking them in passing. He'd sit beside me while I worked late, not saying a word, just keeping me company. But those little things disappeared over time. And when Lily came back, when the ghost of his past walked through the door, everything else walked out. I didn't hate her. Not really. I hated what she represented. The what if he never let go of. The could have been that ruined what was. I scrolled back through the videos online. Some were from guests at the party. Her friends. His colleagues. Our acquaintances. They all knew. They all watched. And not one of them said, "Where's Claire?" I set the phone down. That was the moment I realized. I had been erased. And if he could erase me so easily, I could do the same. I stood up, crossed the room, and opened the drawer beside the bed. Inside was a jewelry box, Ethan's anniversary gift from last year. A sapphire necklace. I never wore it. Not once. This year I hadn't received a gift at all. I snapped the box shut and dropped it into the trash bin. Then I turned off the lights. Tomorrow I wouldn't cry. Tomorrow I wouldn't ask questions. Tomorrow I'd start packing. The front door slammed open at exactly 6:03 a.m. I didn't flinch. I didn't even turn. I'd been awake all night, sitting by the window with a blanket draped over my shoulders and my tea long since gone cold. I knew he'd come back eventually. I just didn't expect him to come back like this. The first thing that hit me wasn't his footsteps. It was the smell. Smoke. Whiskey. And jasmine. The smoke and whiskey were explainable. The jasmine wasn't. Lily's signature perfume. Light, feminine, unmistakable. It used to fill her hair when she visited our home, under the guise of just dropping by. Now it was soaked into my husband's clothes. Ethan walked past me without saying a word. His jacket hit the hook by the door and his keys clattered into the dish on the console table. He reeked of her. Long night? I asked without looking at him. He sighed dramatically like I was the inconvenience. Don't start. I stood and turned toward him, slow and deliberate. Don't start? You come home at 6 in the morning, smelling like her, and you think I'm the one starting something. He ran a hand through his hair. Lily was crying all night, Claire. She saw your comment online. You humiliated her. I stared at him. She was humiliated? On my wedding anniversary you lit up the sky for her. You spelled her name in fireworks. And I'm the one who needs to apologize. It wasn't about that, he snapped. It was just one firework. No, Ethan. It was an entire display. Choreographed. Expensive. Public. And on our anniversary. He scoffed. I didn't know the dates overlapped. You picked the date, Ethan, I said, walking toward him slowly. You insisted on July 16th for our wedding. I thought it was some sentimental reason, maybe something private between us. He said nothing. That's her birthday, isn't it? I asked. I already knew the answer. I just wanted him to say it. He exhaled through his nose. Claire, it's not that deep. That did it. I crossed my arms and gave him a bitter smile. Not that deep. You forgot our anniversary while celebrating your ex's birthday, and it's not that deep. He threw up his hands. You're blowing this out of proportion. I laughed softly, the sound sharper than I meant it to be. I'm your wife, Ethan. And you've spent the last year treating me like a placeholder. His tone changed. He was annoyed now. I came home to fix this. I was going to take you out today. Buy you something. Try to make things right. I shook my head. You don't get to throw money at me like a bribe. Not this time. Claire. No, my voice was quiet but firm. It's not about the gift. It's the fact that you didn't think about me at all until after the fireworks. Until after the internet exploded. Until after I embarrassed you. His silence confirmed everything. I've been patient. I've tried to understand. I swallowed a lot more than I ever should have, I said. But if you're waiting for me to pretend nothing happened, those days are done. He narrowed his eyes. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said, walking past him toward the hallway, that the only thing I'm buying today is legal advice. I picked up my phone from the kitchen counter and dialed. The line rang once. Then Mia's voice answered, low and sleepy. Claire. It's time, I said. I want a divorce. There was a pause. Then a quiet, satisfied sigh. I was wondering when you'd finally say that. I didn't slam the phone down. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Instead, I poured myself a fresh cup of tea, added a slice of lemon and sipped it slowly. Behind me, Ethan stood like he'd just been shot and didn't know where the bullet came from. You're being ridiculous, he muttered. I turned to face him. No, Ethan. I've been ridiculous for staying this long. He looked like he wanted to argue, but the words didn't come. So I gave him one last, even look. Then walked away. And this time he didn't follow. I had no intention of going. After everything Ethan said, everything he didn't say, attending a party together felt like the height of farce. But it was Lindsay's engagement, a high society event packed with press, business allies and every face that mattered in Lockton. My parents were close to hers. And appearances as always still mattered to them. For now. And so I went. Dressed in a black satin gown with a slit high enough to make people whisper but not enough to make them look away. A diamond necklace I hadn't worn in years rested against my collarbone like armor. At 6:30 sharp my phone buzzed. Ethan outside. I stared at the message for a full 10 seconds. Then picked up my clutch and walked out. As I stepped through the front doors, the familiar shape of Ethan's luxury black Maybach came into view. And in the front passenger seat? Lily. Of course. Wearing a champagne-colored silk dress, the neckline plunging just low enough to toe the line of elegance and indecency. Her hair was curled to soft perfection. She glanced at me through the windshield, then smiled, wide-eyed and sweet, as if we were old friends and not two women standing on opposite sides of a war she started. I reached the car and opened the back door. No hesitation. No drama. Just quiet rejection. But Ethan's voice came the moment the door shut. Claire, he said, turning halfway toward me from the driver's seat. Are we really doing this tonight? I looked at him through the rearview mirror. Yes. We are. Beside him, Lily fidgeted with the hem of her gown. She turned around with her signature delicate voice. Claire, I'm so sorry. My car had an issue and Ethan happened to be nearby. He offered me a ride. I didn't mean to take your seat. It's just, my skirt was too big to sit comfortably in the back. She smiled apologetically. But her eyes were triumphant. I returned her gaze, cool and unfazed. Don't worry. I'm more than comfortable back here. Lily blinked. Oh. I can move if you'd like. Don't, Ethan interrupted. Let's not make a scene before we even get there. I smiled to myself. A scene? I wasn't the one who set off fireworks for an ex on my wedding anniversary. Ethan started the engine, clearly annoyed. The silence in the car stretched like a rubber band between us, tight and close to snapping. I didn't mind. I had no interest in snapping first anymore. We pulled up to the entrance of the Crystal Pavilion just before 7. Paparazzi lined the steps, snapping shots as guests stepped out of glossy vehicles. Ethan parked and a valet opened Lily's door. She stepped out, blinking under the camera flashes, hand fluttering to her hair like she was some bashful debutante. My door opened a second later. I stepped out slowly and deliberately. And the moment the cameras caught sight of me, they clicked faster. Ethan moved to my side, trying to offer his arm. I kept walking. No drama. Just distance. Let them all notice. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers glowed above tables layered with crystal and gold. Soft jazz played. Waiters passed by with glasses of champagne and name-labeled hors d'oeuvre trays. I felt a hand brush mine. Ethan. I didn't take it. He leaned in slightly. Claire, come on. Can we not do this here? I gave him a smooth look. Do what? Before he could answer, a few guests approached, calling his name, congratulating him on a recent Shin Group expansion. He turned to speak with them and I slipped away. I was halfway through the room when someone stepped in front of me. Claire. Lily again. She had a glass of wine in one hand, her other hand clutching the beaded clutch she always carried like it was a lifeline. Her eyes were wide and glossy, of course, and her tone soft enough to be overheard. Can I apologize to you? I tilted my head, curious. Go ahead. I really didn't mean to take your seat, she said, biting her lip. I never want to come between you two. I didn't even know tonight was complicated. I just wanted to be there for Ethan. He's been so stressed lately. I stared at her. Her words were chosen carefully. Just enough remorse to seem sweet. Just enough implication to remind me how close they were. Behind her, I spotted Ethan watching us from across the ballroom. Good. Of course, I said with a warm, serene smile. There's no need to apologize. Lily looked startled. Really? I gently took the wine glass from her hand and downed it in one graceful sip. Really, I said, handing it back. I insist. You can have the front seat. It doesn't concern me anymore. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came. I smiled again. You've already made yourself very comfortable. Then I turned and walked away. As I approached the grand staircase leading to the VIP section, I passed by a mirror. My reflection stared back at me, shoulders straight, posture regal, not a single hair out of place. Lily thought she won because she took my seat. She didn't realize I was preparing to give her the whole car. Let her have it. Later that evening, I found myself standing by the balcony overlooking the indoor garden. People danced behind me. Music swirled through the air, but I couldn't hear it. I was watching Ethan from across the room. Lost. He wasn't laughing. Wasn't smiling. Not even with Lily by his side. And that's when I knew something he didn't. He had everything he thought he wanted. Freedom, nostalgia, affection, and her. But what he lost was me. I had barely made it to the courtyard for some air when I overheard it. Two women, both regular fixtures in Lockton's upper crust, stood near the rose-lined fountain, whispering a little too loudly. You didn't hear? She was at Dr. Levin's clinic just last week. OBGYN. Lily. Who else? And the way Ethan's been glued to her side lately. Oh my God. You think she's really pregnant? I think Claire's about to get publicly humiliated. They didn't notice me. Or maybe they didn't care. Either way, I didn't flinch. I just smiled. I had been waiting for this moment. Waiting for Ethan and Lily to cross the line in a way that couldn't be forgiven or explained away. Baby. Perfect. I walked back into the ballroom with practiced grace, my heels echoing on the marble like clockwork. I spotted them by the champagne tower. Ethan in his tailored black suit. Hand resting a little too casually on Lily's lower back. Lily glowing. Literally glowing, whether from nerves, guilt, or something hormonal, I didn't care. The sight of them didn't make my stomach twist anymore. That I felt calm. I hadn't realized how freeing apathy could be. I stepped toward them, letting my presence announce itself. Lily turned first, her eyes going wide. She instinctively removed Ethan's hand from her back. Claire, she said too brightly. Ethan stiffened. I smiled at them both. Tilted my head. Congratulations. Lily blinked. What? Congratulations, I repeated louder now, making sure nearby guests could hear. On the baby. The room went quiet. A server turned on his heel. Someone dropped their fork. Someone else gasped. Lily froze, her face paling. Ethan's jaw clenched. What are you talking about? He asked, voice low. Oh, come now. I turned to the crowd. Everyone seems to know. It's not exactly a secret anymore. Lily's hand went to her belly instinctively. Bad move. I turned back to Ethan. You really couldn't wait until the ink dried, could you? Murmurs started. People turned to whisper behind fans, napkins, wine glasses. Ethan stepped forward, trying to pull me aside. Claire. Stop. I pulled away. Loudly. Don't touch me, I snapped. You don't get to act like my husband after spending the night in a hotel suite with another woman. Gasps again. Someone choked on their wine. Ethan's face flushed red. You're drunk. I laughed. I'm not drunk. I'm done. He reached for my arm again. This time I slapped him. Hard. The sound echoed through the marble room like a gunshot. Lily let out a soft cry and clutched Ethan's sleeve. I leaned in close enough for only them to hear. By the way, the hotel you used? You paid with my card. So either reimburse me for the $12,000 presidential suite, or split the bill with her. I stepped back and glanced at Lily. I'm sure the two of you can work it out. You already shared the bed. Lily's face crumpled. The crowd was frozen. No one dared move. Until Claire. A deep, steady voice. My father. He stepped forward from behind the first row of stunned guests, his expression unreadable. He walked straight to my side and faced Ethan with an authority no man in Lockton questioned. You've made a fool of my daughter for the last time, he said coldly. Ethan opened his mouth, but my father cut him off with a look. You want to embarrass the Zhao family in front of the entire city? Then be prepared for consequences. You slapped the face of the Stone legacy, and I will not let that go unanswered. He turned to the room, his voice calm and commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter and Mr. Shun will no longer be attending tonight's celebration. I trust you'll give them the privacy to resolve their personal matters. Not a soul objected. He looked back at me, his eyes gentler now. Claire. Let's go. I nodded once. Didn't even look at Ethan again. And certainly not at Lily, who looked like she might faint. We walked out together, father and daughter. Shoulders straight. Backs unbroken. In the car, my father didn't ask questions. He didn't scold or sigh. He just poured 2 glasses of water from the chilled flask his driver always carried and handed one to me. Are you okay? He finally asked. I stared out the window. The city lights blurred as we drove past. I am now, I said. And for once I meant it. Later that night, I sat alone in my dressing room, peeling off the gown, the earrings, the armor. I took off the necklace and watched it glint under the vanity lights. One of Ethan's earlier gifts. Back when he still tried. I set it aside. Then I picked up my phone. Claire, Mia. Add the hotel charge to the divorce file. He'll pay it back. One way or another. Ethan's birthday landed on a Thursday that year. The morning passed like any other, back-to-back meetings, polite emails, shallow laughter in glass boardrooms. I was just stepping out of a strategy session when I saw his name flash on my phone. Ethan, can we talk tonight? Just the 2 of us. I stared at the message. Then typed back. Claire, no, we are done. His reply came almost instantly. Ethan, no. I just want to talk. I've made mistakes. Give me tonight, Claire. I considered it for longer than I should have. And then I said yes. Not because I wanted closure. But because I was curious how far he'd go to pretend we hadn't already burned. By 7 o'clock he was at my door, dressed in his favorite gray cashmere sweater and black jeans. His hair was a little messier than usual, like he'd run his hands through it too many times. There was a hopeful softness in his eyes I hadn't seen in months. Happy to see me? He asked with a weak smile. Surprised, I replied, brushing past him to get my coat. He drove. The city lights passed us by in silence. Thanks for agreeing to tonight, he said finally. It means a lot. Don't thank me yet. He pulled into our driveway, our old home. Except something felt off immediately. The lights were on. Too many. I stepped out of the car slowly. Then I heard it. Music, laughter, clinking glasses. A party. Ethan looked alarmed. What the hell? I didn't say a word. We walked inside together. And there she was, Lily, at the center of the living room, holding a cake lit with candles, her face glowing with joy. Happy birthday, she squealed, rushing over to peck Ethan on the cheek. I thought you'd never come back. Then her eyes found me. Her smile faltered. Claire. I didn't know you were coming. I glanced at Ethan. He was frozen. Everyone else. Not so much. People were already whispering. Watching. Phones discreetly angled. I took a step forward, the click of my heels silencing the room. Oh, don't stop the party on my account, I said smoothly. It's your big night, isn't it? Lily looked mortified. I wanted to surprise him. I didn't know you 2 were. Still legally married? I offered. Yeah. Shocking, isn't it? I reached for a wine glass off a tray and lifted it high. To Ethan, I said brightly, and to the woman who just can't help throwing herself at another woman's husband. Gasps. A few awkward coughs. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Ethan stepped forward. Claire, don't do this. Oh, I'm not doing anything, I said lightly, sipping the wine. You 2 already did. He tried again. I didn't plan this. I swear. But you gave her the code to the house. Silence. Or was the security system just too tired of keeping her out? I added with a shrug. Lily placed the cake on the table and stepped back, trembling. You can blow out your candles now, I said. Make a wish. Maybe wish I don't file for public alimony. A few of his guests choked on their laughter. Ethan grabbed my arm. Enough, Claire. I pulled away with a sharp smile. You wanted tonight? You got it. You wanted just us? You brought the whole damn city. He looked like he wanted to defend himself, but there were no words strong enough to fix this. I set the empty glass down with a click, then turned to the crowd and gave a little wave. "Enjoy the show," I said. "But it's the last one you'll ever see from me." And then I walked out, without looking back. Ethan followed me into the hallway, his voice low and desperate. "Claire, I swear I didn't know. I told her not to do anything." I turned slowly. "You had one chance," I said. "You said just the two of us. But you gave her the door code. That tells me everything I need to know." "I didn't think she'd." "No, Ethan. You never think. That's the problem." His mouth opened, then closed. I stepped back. "It's too late. You don't even realize what you've lost." He reached for me again, but I had already turned. I went home to my temporary apartment. Small, clean, minimalist. No memories on the walls. Just peace. I poured myself another glass of wine, kicked off my heels and sat by the window. Outside, the city buzzed with other people's problems. They were finally walking out of the door behind me. Somewhere across town, in a house I used to live in, Ethan was blowing out candles. And realizing the air didn't feel as full without me. I didn't slam the door when I walked out of Ethan's surprise birthday party. I didn't cry on the way home. I didn't scream into a pillow or call Mia with shaking hands. I simply changed the locks on my new apartment, tossed my heels into the closet and opened my laptop. That night I sent the final confirmation email to my lawyer. Subject: finalize the divorce. Attached was everything Ethan had signed after that night, when he came to the office with tired eyes and a trembling signature. It wasn't dramatic. He just asked if I'd really go through with it. I said, "I'm not your shadow." He blinked. "What?" "I've spent 5 years living in the shade of another woman. I'm done being the outline you walk past." He signed the papers 30 seconds later. No more arguments. No more fake apologies. Just a pen. A signature. Silence. And that was that. 3 months passed. I reclaimed my name. Moved into my new place. Started investing in the business my mother once dreamed of opening. People started to look at me differently. Like I wasn't Ethan Shin's wife. Like I was Claire Zhao in full. Then one afternoon I was at a quiet cafe near the river, waiting for a client, when someone slid into the seat across from me uninvited. I didn't even have to look up to know who it was. Lily. Her once perfect curls were pulled into a low bun. Her face looked pale, blotchy even beneath heavy makeup. And the flowing dress she wore couldn't hide what she had come to show off, her stomach. Round. Prominent. At least 5 months along. I raised an eyebrow. "Lily." She smiled, lips trembling. "Claire." I said nothing. She clutched the water glass like it was her anchor. "I'm sorry for just showing up. I've tried calling. Messaging. But you blocked me. That was intentional." She winced. I needed to see you. Please." I gestured toward the window. "The exit's that way." "Claire, please," she whispered, her hand protectively over her bump. "I'm pregnant. You know that already. I'm not here to fight." "Then why are you here?" She swallowed hard. I need to ask you something. Beg you actually." "Go on." Her voice cracked. "Can you please sign the divorce papers soon? Ethan says it's still processing, but we're running out of time. I can't show up to the hospital unmarried. My parents are furious. People are asking questions. Please." I leaned back, slow and amused. "You really don't know, do you?" Lily's eyes flickered. "Know what?" I took a long sip of my espresso. "Ethan and I divorced 3 months ago." Her face paled in an instant. The silence between us was thick. I continued casually. "The papers were signed. Filed. You've been asking about a marriage that already ended while playing house with a man who didn't even tell you." She looked like someone had slapped her. He didn't tell me?" "No. But," her hand flew to her stomach again. "He told me you were being difficult. That you hadn't signed yet. That." I raised my hand to stop her. "That's between you and him. But if he's lying to you now, ask yourself, what else has he lied about?" Her mouth opened, then shut. "You see," I said, resting my chin on my hand, "you may be carrying his child, Lily. But I carried his reputation. His business ties. His place in society." She shook her head slowly, as if denial could rewind what she just heard. I leaned forward. I was the one who stood beside him at charity galas. I was the one reporters called the power couple. You're just the consequence. Tears brimmed in her eyes. Why are you being so cruel? I tilted my head. Cruel? I gave you the truth. That's more than he ever gave me. She wiped her face with shaking fingers. I don't know what to do. That's not my problem, I said, grabbing my bag. But if I were you, I'd stop asking me for kindness and start asking him for answers. I stood and turned, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. She looked up, eyes wide. Next time you beg, don't do it in heels that tight. Pregnancy isn't your stage costume. And with that, I left her sitting there, makeup running, bump rising, and reality finally catching up to her fantasy. That night, I poured myself a glass of red wine and stood on my balcony overlooking the river. The wind was calm. The lights shimmered. My phone buzzed once. Mia, you'll never believe who just tried to request another copy of your divorce certificate. Smiley face. I laughed. It was always the ones who thought they'd won that ended up most confused when the prize slipped through their fingers. For a man so full of ambition, Ethan was surprisingly predictable. After our divorce was finalized and his affair paraded around the city like a half-baked fairy tale, I thought he'd marry Lily immediately. That's what people like him did, clean up messes with rings and press releases. But months passed. And nothing. No wedding. No engagement announcement. Just whispers, first quiet then louder. Until one evening, while sipping tea in my office, Mia walked in with a smirk and dropped a thin manila folder on my desk. What's this? I asked. She sat down and crossed her legs, clearly enjoying herself. A little gift. I opened it. Inside were high-resolution photos, taken in Harbor City. There was Ethan. And not with Lily. He was with someone else. A woman I recognized immediately. Isabel Wong. Daughter of the Wong family fortune. Heiress to a logistics empire that spanned continents. Educated in London. Elegant, poised, and most importantly, rich enough to make even Ethan forget what he already ruined. I flipped through the photos. Ethan and Isabel strolling through a harbor market. Dining at a rooftop restaurant. Sitting close on a boat, smiling like nothing existed beyond the shoreline. Each image was sharper than the last. Who took these? I asked, though I already knew. Let's just say your network is better than his, Mia said. And he's getting sloppy. I leaned back in my chair. So, he didn't marry Lily because he was aiming higher. Exactly. He's been trying to court Isabel for months. The Wong Group's IPO is coming up and he wants in. Marriage into the family would fast-track everything. I stared down at the glossy images again. And for the first time in a long time I laughed. Oh, he really thinks he's clever. Mia raised a brow. What are you thinking? I think it's time Lily got a real education. It took less than 2 days to prepare the package. I chose the best photos. Ethan and Isabel toasting champagne. A kiss on the cheek. A moonlit shot of them at the edge of Victoria Harbor. I included no note. No message. Just a clean, silent envelope with a locked-in return address. And I mailed it directly to Lily. Let her see what her fairy tale was really made of. It didn't take long for the impact to hit. The next morning, social media exploded. Round pushpin location, Wong Group headquarters. Camera with flash captured by multiple phones. Mobile phone viral on every feed. There she was, Lily, standing outside the grand entrance of the Wong building in the middle of rush hour, visibly pregnant, mascara streaked down her cheeks, sobbing as she clutched a handful of crumpled photographs. Dozens of office workers paused to stare. Traffic slowed. Some took pictures. Others whispered behind hands. And standing at the top of the stairs? Isabel Wong. Pristine in a cream silk blouse and navy pencil skirt. Her heels clicked sharply as she descended, followed by 2 assistants. Lily cried out, "Please, Miss Wong, please give Ethan back to me. I'm carrying his child." Gasps echoed from the growing crowd. Isabel stopped mid-step, composed but clearly blindsided. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said icily. "I have proof." Lily sobbed, flinging the envelope of photos into the air. They scattered like confetti, some landing at Isabel's feet. "He told me he loved me. We were supposed to get married. But since he met you, he won't even answer my calls." People began filming in earnest. One of Isabel's assistants tried to step forward, but she raised a hand. To her credit, Isabel didn't run. She simply looked at Lily and said, "You should be more careful where you beg. Especially when your name isn't on the building." Then she walked back inside without another word. By noon the footage had gone viral. By evening headlines were spinning like wildfire. Heiress confronted by pregnant mistress outside corporate headquarters. Shin Group's Ethan Shin caught between scandal and IPO dreams. Wong Group severs all personal and business ties with Shin Enterprises. I didn't post a single thing. Didn't like. Didn't share. Didn't comment. I simply watched. Sipped my tea. And smiled. That night Ethan called me. Blocked number. Of course. I let it ring. He tried again. Then texted. "Ethan, Claire. I know it was you. Ethan, you think this is funny? Ethan, you destroyed everything. For what? Revenge." I didn't respond. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I didn't need to say it. He was doing the math himself now. Lily was never the plan. I was the foundation. And now that I'd walked away, now that Isabel had too, the empire he'd built on secrets and shadows was collapsing on its own. I went to bed early that night. Slept like a queen. They said the shouting started before the elevator even reached the penthouse. Ethan and Lily. At it again. One of the doormen at their high-rise later told a mutual friend, it was like glass shattering every time she opened her mouth. But this time there was no one left to shield them. No publicist. No lawyer. No loyal assistant to play mediator. The Wong Group had cut ties in one clean stroke, and the rest of the city followed their lead like wolves chasing blood. I wasn't there for the explosion. But I knew exactly how it played out. "You humiliated me," Ethan bellowed as he stormed into the penthouse, slamming the door so hard the hallway artwork rattled. Lily stood in the living room, still dressed in the silk maternity dress she wore to Wong Group that morning. Her makeup had melted into blotchy streaks. Her hair was a mess. She didn't even pretend to be calm anymore. "I humiliated you," she snapped. "You've been lying to me for months." Ethan tossed his jacket onto the couch and pointed an accusatory finger. "You stood outside Isabel's building like a lunatic. Crying. Throwing photos like you were at a funeral. Do you even understand what you've done?" Her voice cracked, raw and bitter. "You told me we were going to be married. You told me I was the only one. That was before you destroyed my business," he roared. "Do you know how many contracts were pulled today? Do you even know what an IPO is, Lily?" "I don't care about your IPO," she shrieked. "I cared about you. And you lied. You never told me you were already divorced. You kept stringing me along while chasing another heiress." He scoffed. "Don't pretend you're innocent. You showed up conveniently pregnant the second Claire left. You think I don't know you planned that?" He staggered back stunned. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," he spat. "You trapped me. You thought a baby would make you the next Claire. You thought I'd marry you out of obligation and inherit the Stone family's leverage by default. Well, congratulations. Now all you have is a broken reputation and a baby that's ruined both our lives." For a moment the room fell silent. Then Lily stepped forward and slapped him. Hard. He didn't even flinch. "You used me," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You told me I mattered. That we were meant to be. That I was better than her." He leaned in inches from her face. "You were never better than her." And with that he turned, grabbed his keys and stormed out. My phone rang that evening as I was reading by the window. Blocked number. Of course. I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Claire," Ethan's voice was sharp, ragged. "You think this is over? You think you can just walk away after ruining my life?" I leaned back into the couch, lazily flipping a page in my book. "You'll need to be more specific," I said. "Which part of your life? The one you shared with me? Or the one you gambled on with a woman you never intended to keep?" He ignored the jab. "You sent those photos to Lily. You knew she'd break. And you knew she'd beg," I replied coolly. "Tell me, Ethan, did you actually think you could date a billionaire heiress while hiding a pregnant mistress and your ex-wife in the shadows?" She made a scene outside Wong Group's headquarters. "Yes. Quite the scene. Viral, wasn't it?" He growled. "You did this to get revenge." I smiled. "No, Ethan. You did this. I just lit the match." He was quiet for a moment, breathing heavy on the other end. Then coldly, You're going to regret this. Unlikely, I said, standing up and walking toward my balcony. I don't regret choosing myself. I regret staying long enough to watch you fall. His voice rose. You think you're untouchable? You think I won't come after what you owe me? I laughed, light and bright. Ethan, I gave you the best years of my life and you handed them to your mistress. You don't get to talk about owing. You heartless. I ended the call, then blocked his number. I stood outside for a moment, letting the cool evening breeze graze my skin. Below me the city buzzed. Distant, vibrant, alive. Ethan was somewhere beneath those lights, spiraling. He built his ambitions on a house of cards. His ego, my loyalty, and Lily's delusion. Now the cards had collapsed. And all that was left was ash. The next morning headlines were everywhere. Wong Group confirms end of Shin collaboration. Stock plunge. Shin Group falls 12% in 48 hours. Mistress mother and market crash. The fall of Ethan Shin. My favorite one. From power couple to public collapse. Where is Claire Zhao now? I smiled and sipped my coffee. Where was I? Free. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. At first I thought it was another scandal. Another headline Ethan couldn't outrun. Another PR team scrambling to do damage control. But when Mia burst into my office, face pale and hands shaking, I knew it wasn't just about business anymore. Claire, she whispered, sliding her phone toward me. It's bad. Real bad. The headline read, Tragedy at Shin Residence. Suspected suicide pact leaves one hospitalized, one critical. My stomach twisted. I clicked the article. Early this morning, emergency services responded to a 911 call from a neighbor at the Grand Crest Residences after smelling smoke through the vents. Inside the penthouse, firefighters discovered a makeshift charcoal burner and two unconscious individuals, Ethan Shin and Lily Tang. Sources confirm that Ms. Tang is currently hospitalized with minor burns, while Mr. Shin is in critical condition from carbon monoxide poisoning. Ms. Tang was 7 months pregnant. The child could not be saved. I leaned back in my chair, unable to speak. Mia sat down slowly. They think she lit the charcoal while he was asleep. I closed my eyes. She continued, quieter now. She left a note. 4 days the city held its breath. The woman who had once flaunted her bump in front of flashing cameras was now in hiding, cloaked in hospital gowns and psychiatric evaluations. The man who once stood on red carpets beside me couldn't even sit up in bed. The official diagnosis came within the week. Ethan had suffered irreversible brain damage. Oxygen deprivation had left him mentally impaired. His motor functions dulled, his memory fractured, his speech slurred. The doctors called it permanent cognitive regression. I called it poetic. I didn't visit him. Not even when journalists speculated that I might. They camped outside my apartment hoping I'd make a statement. But I didn't give them the satisfaction. Ethan's spiral had finally hit rock bottom. And this time there were no wives to cushion the fall. But what none of us expected was Lily's next move. 2 weeks after the failed suicide attempt, rumors began to swirl. Lily was seen leaving the Shin estate in a bridal boutique van. Her family arrived from out of town. The press speculated wildly. And then, just like that, it was confirmed. Lily was marrying Ethan. There was no announcement. No invitations. No guests outside of immediate family and 2 reluctant witnesses. It was more like a silent surrender than a wedding. But photos still leaked. Because of course they did. One afternoon, Mia barged into my apartment holding a glossy tabloid. You are not ready for this, she said, barely containing her laugh. I took the magazine and stared. There was a full-page spread of Lily and Ethan in a wedding shoot, staged at the hospital's rooftop garden. Ethan wore a wrinkled tux. His tie was crooked. His eyes were blank, unfocused. He was seated in a wheelchair. Lily stood behind him in a white maternity dress, altered hastily to hide the now-absent bump. Her smile was brittle, tight. In one shot, Ethan tilted his head against her shoulder, his mouth opened slightly. Caption read, "A love that survived it all." But it was the video clip attached to the article that gutted me. They had filmed part of the shoot. In it, a nurse adjusted Ethan's collar while Lily dabbed her tear-streaked cheeks. Then came the moment. Ethan turned his head toward her, lips barely forming the word. Wife. He drooled on her shoulder. Her smile cracked, but only for a second. Then she nodded, whispered, "Yes. Your wife." I stared at the screen, numb. Mia watched me carefully. "Do you feel sorry for her?" "No," I said softly. "Not even a little?" I closed the magazine and set it aside. She wanted to be the leading lady. Now the spotlight's hers. Mia tilted her head. "And Ethan?" I looked out the window. The sky was overcast. The city below was moving on. He built a kingdom on lies. Now he doesn't even remember the throne. Later that evening I received an envelope. No return address. Inside a single wedding photo. Ethan smiling vaguely, head tilted. Lily beside him, makeup thick enough to hide the exhaustion. No note. No message. Just a final performance. A curtain call on everything they thought they'd won. I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped onto the balcony. Somewhere in a house full of hushed voices and locked medicine cabinets, they were playing House in the Ruins. Together in ambition. Together in betrayal. Together in ruin. The article was short. Buried on page 7, beneath headlines about rising stocks and celebrity weddings. Just a paragraph, really. No photographs this time. No hashtags. No reporters waiting outside hospital gates. Shin Group has officially been dissolved. Former CEO Ethan Shin, now under permanent medical care, has transferred his remaining assets to his wife, Ms. Lily Tang Shin. Sources confirm she has assumed full guardianship, citing her commitment to his long-term well-being. I stared at the screen for a moment, then slowly reached for the crystal glass on the table beside me. The wine was already breathing. A deep, confident red. I swirled it slowly, letting the sunlight catch on the edges like blood in motion. Then I raised my glass. "To them," I said aloud. "Bound together forever." Mia looked up from her laptop across the room. I smiled faintly. "The happy couple." She smirked, closing the lid. "Oh, I read that too. He signed everything over to her? Including the penthouse. Every last crumbling brick. Does she think this is a win?" "Probably." We clinked glasses and I took a slow sip. There was something poetic about it. How all their scheming, their whispered nights and stolen glances, had ended with them legally tethered but spiritually wrecked. A twisted version of marriage, stripped of power, glamour, and hope. They got what they wanted. Just not how they wanted it. I opened my laptop and checked my calendar. The next month's bookings for Zhao and Bloom were full. Our private consulting firm for high-level brand strategy was now on its third expansion. Last week, we finalized a partnership with a venture capital firm focused on women-led startups. Our name was already trending in the right circles. And today was our soft opening for the downtown office. A glass-walled, sun-drenched space in the heart of the financial district. My name, Claire Zhao, etched in gold on the frosted front door. Funny. Ethan used to scoff at my dreams. "Consulting is just glorified opinion," he'd said once, half asleep beside me. I suppose he wasn't wrong. And now my opinion was worth millions. As I walked through the new space that afternoon, heels tapping against Italian tile, my assistant handed me a box tied with a satin ribbon. "There's no note," she said, puzzled. "Courier dropped it off 20 minutes ago." I opened it. Inside, a small white picture frame. A screenshot of Ethan and me from our first anniversary, posed at the beach, champagne flutes raised. We looked so young, so stupidly in love. I almost laughed. Below the image someone had scrawled a date. June 3rd. Our anniversary. I turned the frame over. No signature. But I didn't need one. Only one person would think to send this now. A silent reminder. A tug on a string he no longer held. I placed the frame face down in a drawer and closed it gently. That evening, after the ribbon-cutting ceremony and endless rounds of congratulations, I returned home alone. Not lonely. Just alone. My new apartment was calm, minimal, airy. Every piece of furniture chosen by me. Every book on the shelf, mine. No ghosts hiding in the corners. No misplaced shirts smelling of someone else's perfume. Just peace. I opened a bottle of wine. An expensive one Mia had gifted me after my first $1 million client deal, and carried it to the balcony. The skyline glittered. From up here the city looked forgiving. It no longer reminded me of him. No more memories in lobbies. No more regrets in restaurants. Just endless new places, new deals, new days. I poured a generous glass and let the wind wrap around me. Somewhere across the city, Ethan was being spoon-fed and medicated, while Lily fought the truth of her own reflection. They had each other now. In the most tragic, permanent way. He had once forgotten our anniversary. But me? I would never forget the day I walked away with nothing. And built everything. I raised my glass one last time. To the man who forgot me, I said quietly. And the woman who thought she replaced me. Then I smiled. Here's to the silence after the storm. And drank. The end.